everyone, and welcome to the Undisputed Heavyweight Champion of the World show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Demon. This is the award-winning Fan Show. Happy Wednesday to you. It's good to be here. Good to be back on the Fan Show. I got to tell you, it is always a fun day to have a debut on the Fan Show and a return from maybe a year or more back. I mean, when it comes to certain seasons, we usually have different guests on pretty regularly. Of course, during the football season, I like to welcome good friends of mine, Mark Istook, Aaron Coscarelli, Matt Harmon, Adam Rank, James Coe, all the guys from NFL Network, Cynthia Freeland. She was very kind to join us, and hopefully many more appearances in the future. But it's football, right? Lots to talk about as the season goes, and even a lot to talk about in the off-season. Then, of course, when we get to the off-season, we have the IFL season. That's when I talk to the different players, the different coaches. I have Connor Ferguson on, talk power rankings. So, depending on the season, there's a lot of familiar faces. I know you guys like that because you like hearing, getting to know some of these guys. Some of them you like more than others, and that's to be expected. That's understood. But then the rest of the while, I mean, there's not really a season for comedy. There's not really a season for comic books or music or what have you. I mean, we are about to kick off summer officially in an official capacity, so it could technically, I guess, be the music season. A lot of music festivals out there. But Battlebots Season 3. We are continuing our countdown to the big premiere this Friday, and so that finally has a season again, and 'tis the season for robot fighting time. Tonight, I will welcome back to the show. You may remember from a couple of seasons ago on the Fan Show, when we were talking Season 2, is the man that got me into BattleBots. Well, not got me into liking or, discovering BattleBots. I'm saying that, affiliated to some small capacity with the folks at Discovery and BattleBots so that I can bring you weekly BattleBots segments here on the Fan Show. John Remar, the head referee, had a hand or two in the creation of Robot Fighting Time, so he's going to come back to the show this evening. We recorded the segment last night, great stuff, and then tomorrow night we'll finish our BattleBots week in a big way because we've got the big voice, the big man himself, Farouk. Who better to springboard us into the day of the season premiere? So we will have Farouk on tomorrow, and then Friday is the big season premiere. I'm excited to live tweet with you guys and see what you thought. So hopefully enough of you have listened to me blabber on about how great this thing is going to be. But you can expect to hear a lot of new recurring voices and familiar voices on the show with BattleBots season being a thing once again. Hopefully it's same time next year. But then we also have newcomers, and what better day than a Wednesday to make a debut. Phillip Kopczynski, which I probably just said it completely wrong, but he's a local comedian here in Spokane. He opened for Jay Chandrasekhar, the head director and pretty much the head of Broken Lizard, the guys behind Beer Fest and a little movie called Super Troopers and Super Troopers 2. Very funny guy, would host for the Comedy Club here in Spokane. He was on one of Mark Morris's comedy showcase events that I went to, and we were like, hey, I know you. Yeah, kind of, vaguely. We bumped into each other a few other times, but he will be making his debut on the show coming up in a little bit. He will be the first guest of the night, and then we'll bring it home with John Remar and some BattleBots talk. But of course, with every episode, we must get through the headlines. And the headlines are brought to you by, once again, Dynamite Enterprises, your one-stop shop for anything customized, from apparel, screen printing, embroidery, stickers, banners, trophies, foam fingers, pens, and coasters. Dynamite Enterprises has you covered. Anything that you can imagine, that you can fathom, that you can think up, that you would like to see your logo, your brand, your artwork, your passion on, they can do it. Dynamite Enterprises. You hit them up, dynamiteenterprises.com. Ask for Ethan. Tell him the Fan Show sent you. He's going to hook you up. They make great stuff They really do. I have shirts from them. I'm excited to get some more stuff. Foam fingers, especially. I think that would be fantastic marketing for the Fan Show. And they are going to customize your world at Dynamite Enterprises. Don't forget, also this weekend, we've got the big Spokane Wolfpack Car Wash. Hope that those of you in the area can make it out for a little car wash and support a great cause. It is young and some old athletes who just like to, continue to stay healthy, be active, be competitive. And they are Spokane's local semi-professional outdoor football team. And I feel like the outdoor part needs to be emphasized because we do a lot of indoor football coverage here on the Fan Show. And a lot of people like the indoor football coverage or arena coverage, whichever, whatever flavor of describing what it is that you prefer. There is an arena football league and there is an indoor football league and then there is a national arena league. So there's quite a few out there, but I really do think that this team is great, especially after losing its indoor football team or its arena team. And for them to go out there and take time off work and play and not even get housing or anything. I mean, we're talking about the last stop before you get paid to play the sport is what these guys are. And they play from May through July. I mean, it's the hottest time of the year, and they're out there putting on pads, helmets, and tearing each other apart. So it's a good time. It was a great season last year. It was very, very fun to watch and be a part of that, be official in some capacity, some way, shape, or form. So that's this weekend. Battlebots season premiere is Friday. So we got a big weekend ahead of some really great stuff. NHL playoffs, of course, we talked last night. We are 3 out of 4 for the Eastern and Western Conference Championships. The Game 7 between the Jets and the Predators is 8 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, May 10th. So 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. You're going to want to tune into NBC Sports Network for that. That will determine who goes on to face the red-hot Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, it's so hot you can just melt that gold like a scene from Game of Thrones. So, set your calendars. I just realized that I said the word "so" 7 times. It always makes me laugh. Somebody tweeted, I forget who it was. I think it was Harry Wrestling Fan. Said if you could name a finisher after a reference to your favorite TV show or movie, what would it be? And I said the Smoke Monster or the Bro Code, obviously reference to Lost and How I Met Your Mother, two of my favorite shows. I couldn't think of a good one for Scrubs or Dexter or Sons of Anarchy. I'm sure that I could. Those I figured Game of Thrones would be just too many people would try to do references to that. The winter is coming. Oh, winter is coming. This is it. This is it. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Something like that. But I reminded myself of that. I think the Smoke Monster would be a great one, and the Bro Code, kind of like the Code Breaker, but a more friendlier, kind of goofier version of that. How I Met Your Mother was the episode where Robin was the center of a drinking game, But game, where she would say the phrase "But and you had to take a drink, and you get schnockered by the end of her early morning or late night news program. So I say the word "so" a lot, where you guys could do the Bum game on the Fan Show, but for the word "so," because apparently that is my claim to go to in between word to bridge my thought process. A lot of people will do the and I try to avoid that by using "yeah" or "so" or which I think if you look back or listen back, I guess I should say, it probably, now that you are aware of it, it's probably going to sound annoying and you're going to notice it. But to me, "so," "yeah," and "okay" sound a lot better than and whatever else. So, continuing with the headlines, Saints running back Mark Ingram suspended for 4 games for PEDs. He must have really taken that Alvin Kamara thing hard last season. I thought they were a great duo. I really did. I think it was something that there was a missing piece that they'd been missing for way too long. And the Diggs touchdown was nothing against the offense. That was the defense right there. But hey, it is what it is. Reuben Foster pleads not guilty to felony counts. I'm over it. As a Niners fan, it's just whatever. I don't care. I really just whatever. I don't care. CEO Sam Darnold shifts team into a new gear. Oh, of course you're gonna think that. He's going to shift you into the new era of Mark Sanchez 2.0. I can't wait for his first butt fumble. Some of you saw that tweet, and I appreciate you that did. It's great. What is this one? McCourty, 0-16 season brings perspective to the Pats. What? Who? Huh? This article I must read. An 0-16 season might be considered a lost one to most. Turns out the most recent one, Cleveland's winless trudge through 2017, is being an unexpected asset to the reigning AFC champion. This, according to Lime New England Patriot Vin Cordy, who is welcoming his twin brother, former Browns corner Jason, to the team. Yes, the rich are getting richer, it says here. He brings leadership that I think we don't have on this team. He knows how to deal with adversity. McCourty said, sometimes we get in a routine. We've won a lot of football games, and it's always good to hear a different perspective of what it takes, so you're not kind of getting worn down or thinking this is too much. You get a perspective from him going 0-16. He always tells me last year, worst year ever. I think hearing that motivates you, and let's see, motivates you. Where? Damn it! Why does my thing have to shift here on me? Last year, worst year ever. I think hearing that motivates you and lets you know you're doing the right things that push you. Okay, I don't think he speaks for the entire team. I'm just going to throw that right out there right now. I don't think that having a guy from the Browns who went 0-16 has any kind of perspective for majority of that squad. I'm going to probably like 99% of that squad. It's just like, we're New England. We're not Cleveland. And if it does bring perspective to more than that, then good. Then props to him for being in a better situation. But I can tell you right now, as long as Belichick and Brady are there, you're probably don't even have to worry about having a losing season for ever. And that really about does it. The Saints not planning on replacing running back Mark Ingram. Eagles signed veteran Matt Jones to add to their running back depth. Jerry Jones, big arrow up for Ezekiel Elliott in 18. I don't care. Brandon Marshall meeting with the Seahawks today. And then Cliff Averill says a few NFL teams contacted him. So Seahawks, man, that yard sale. I don't know. It's going to be tough. But that's going to take us to the first quarter of the show. We will be back with my first guest of the evening, so don't go anywhere. We've got plenty more of The Fan Show coming up after this.
You're listening to The Fan Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. All and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's The Fan Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from The League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ramsey.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It was like that scene in The Simpsons, like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva. They are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico 10 minutes in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo.
Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again.
So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body, right?
Yeah.
And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back making his debut on the show. Local comedian, I will probably butcher this, Phillip Kopczynski?
So close, man.
So
Kopczynski.
close. Kopczynski?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, man, I felt like that makes you even from when you opened for Jay from Super Troopers and Broken Lizard, because you were telling me the story about how you had to practice like 7 or 8 times. He told you right before, and you still got it wrong. I feel like that's on that.
Yeah, the only difference is I feel like you could be looking at a piece of paper. I was on stage. I can't do that.
Yeah, but even still, I looked at your name when I was typing it out for the show title, and I was just like, there are so many consonants and so very few vowels in his last name. I honestly don't have a clue.
man, here's the deal. There's a ton of white dudes out there. It's just a sea of us just floating around. I feel like if I got the weird last name, people would be like, oh, maybe he's ethnic.
If Hollywood is ethnic, then yes, I would say that's probably a very ethnic last name.
Well, it's fun. I was just down in LA, and there were all these managers, and like there was a booker for Kimmel, and they were doing the panel, and if you moved on to the final, there was this shows, multiple shows. If you moved on to the end, you were showcasing for them. And they were doing this panel for anybody that wanted to go and see it, and all people in the contest were able to go in for free. And somebody goes, what are networks looking for now? Like, what are they trying to book? What kind of acts? And two of the people up there were like, not white males. And it was just like 70% white male comedians out there. And everybody laughing because, like, I'm not kidding. The networks do not want white males. And the guy looked in the audience and he goes, if there's a gay Muslim, I can get you audition tomorrow. You don't even know your act.
Wow, that's too funny. So true though. We're trying to force like equality and diversity on people, and sometimes I just don't think that one, people don't like being forced things, but two, it's just sometimes comes across the opposite of what you intend to. But you do what you love. I mean, obviously, it's if you like
for
people
sure,
love, do it.
Well, the funny thing is that after all that, the people the three winners of that contest, it was two white dudes and a black guy. So I was like. And so like, well, I mean, once they see what the talent's gonna rise to the top. Sometimes that talent's gonna be cream.
Yeah.
Sometimes the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, you can't force talent, either. You either have it or you don't. And I think that you're a very talented comedian. I've seen you a couple times now, and it's been always a lot of fun, more than an open mic. So obviously you've got the chop to go for a full set. But you were one of several that I've gotten the chance to get to know. And just as a kind of refresher, what would you say? How long have you been doing comedy for? What was the moment that you realized, I should make people laugh for a living, and intentionally, not unintentionally?
Yeah, right. I did improv at like a community college level, not community college, but a community theater level for a long time, probably 7 years. I did it in college, and, it was my education in theater, and I did that for a long time. I just helped people kind of come and then go and scurry off to Chicago and LA, and I saw them have like careers, and I was, man, I was neck and neck with them, you know what I mean? And I see a lot of them go off and have acting careers and sort of production careers and just in the business. And then about 4.5 years ago, I feel like I was, improv is kind of I love improv and I do it, but when you're performing it regularly, there is no money. There's nothing. You do corporate gigs. They're very low paid corporate gigs. And there's kind of a point where it's like, it's nice to work with the same people year after year. And Spokane is such a sending off point for so much talent, whether it be bands or comedians, that I was just getting this revolving door. And I thought, man, I got to kind of move into my own thing where I'm just performing alone. And and I'd wanted to try stand up for a long time. I finally, I just bit the bullet and did it. And then immediately was like, this is what I should be doing. And started doing 5 to 9 open mics a week. And I was still kind of just a hobbyist, but then, I don't know, about 2.5 years ago, I think I was like, oh, I'll put my foot out in the water. And I got second in a competition in Colorado Springs, and and learned a lot about the industry and how there's an industry of stand-up comedy that has nothing to do with Hollywood or New York. I mean, there's stand-up comedy clubs all over the country, and people live all over the country who are working comedians. And once I saw that and I realized what it takes to do it and how you can kind of go about it, I started pursuing it a lot more seriously. So I'd say I've been doing stand for about 4.5 years, but pursuing it at a professional level, I'd say about 2.5 years.
And it's good because I've always been a comedy, and honestly, I know who isn't. I know that there's going to be always exceptions to every rule. That small.
Yeah,
sliver.
If you're a person that doesn't like to laugh, dude.
We can't
good luck in life, man.
Yeah, we can't help you. I do think though that for the people that like to laugh, there is a bigger majority than there should be of people that like to laugh on their terms. Like if you say something that is funny to a lot of people but not funny to them, they will let you know that it was not funny to them, and really that just takes away from the art of it, because that's what it is. It's like the last pure form of entertainment is comedy, because although certain jokes may be time sensitive, demographic sensitive, or whatever, it's like you should never get really in trouble for telling a joke, because it's like it's a joke.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and people think about that in ways like, oh, he said something offensive, and everyone's like, lighten up. But what offends people, I find a lot of times, is something pertains to them individually. I mean, I saw a person one time say how he went to wrestling in high school, but he was like, man, what happened? Like, I don't want to fight. I'm gay in that moment, and I don't want to put on wrestling. I don't know if I say that on this podcast, but yeah, cool. But he said that it was a silly joke. It wasn't a great joke, but it was like I didn't want that to be that I found out. It was a funny idea. People laughed, but there was like a table of 4 people who just immediately freaked out, and afterwards they were mad, and it's because their son was a state champion wrestler, and they were super homophobic people.
Wow.
So they were like, my son, and it's like, well, maybe you guys just chill. I got so offended, and it's like, I don't know, there's just this like outrage. People almost want to be a victim, or I don't know, man. It's really weird when I see people get offended. I used to get angry on stage, and I just kind of let it roll off my back and move on, because that's.
It's kind of what you have to do, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten, like, a comedy, the ability to laugh. That's the most resilient quality you can have. That's how most people get through hard times in their life, is they find the funny aspects of it.
Yeah, it's great medicine. Here's a couple of examples of just how funny like people are without them even realizing it. So, of course, I cover a lot of sports, football being the big one. And I think that the funniest thing for me is always people that get offended about something that doesn't even directly involve them. The Redskins, okay, with their name, and how many white people are so offended by the fact that that's what the team is called. And it's like, we're talking that this was one of the like pioneer teams in the original football days, and so it's been around since the 60s, and then all of a sudden there was this uproar that started like 3 years ago, and it wasn't even like Native Americans that were upset. It was just like white people that were upset that more people weren't upset about this. And you just have to laugh at people because they don't even realize that they're doing it. And yet it's so funny because it really could and should be completely different, and it's not. And I think is some of the beauty in the world that people overlook a lot.
No, there's a lot of white people, especially white women, who want to be the caretakers of all the races and anyone who may be oppressed.
That's like the perfect word for it, caretaker. I love that.
Yeah, it's funny that there's a type of racism in saying, you know what, marginalized individual, I'm a white woman and I can handle this. You're not able to handle this. I'll be offended too. That, to me, that's hype racism, where I'm like, it's like mollycoddling it, Yeah.
But then even growing up, so you're a young adolescent teenage boy going through all these hormones, and growing up, it's like you find yourself, if you're at summer camp and you're at the pool, and then you're snapping each other in the ass with a towel, or you're just like joking around, just like, it's like, hey man, like you look pretty good in that swimsuit, and you're completely joking, and then if like something legitimately serious came along down that road, you freak out. It's just like, you look from the outside in, and you're just like, okay, so I kind of maybe put off a little bit of a vibe of myself there and didn't even realize it, but it's just life is so funny that way. Yeah.
This podcast is getting really homoerotic right now. This is why a lot of podcasts that do this have a female host to be like, guys, I'm still here. Can you guys stop rubbing oil on each other's chests? What are you doing?
I've been listening to way too much of the Woody Show in the morning. There's like four dudes and one girl in that studio, and I'm just like, I don't know how you do it. I was on the Deese Social Hour podcast, and Jamie was the only girl in that room, and I was just like, I don't know how you do it, but props to you. She's
she
kind
puts
of
up
like,
with a lot.
Yeah, she's very dudeish herself, but in like the ways that you need to be to handle that kind of environment,
Right. Well, the transition for her was recent.
So. So you've got a big moment this weekend, CD release. Is this your first? And...
Well, it's actually a CD. It's the recording show.
Oh, the recording show.
I've been recording quite a bit, so we will be able to master in different aspects of it. But I like to pull as much from this show that I'm doing. because I have about 5 shows that I recorded that will probably go on that might be part of CD. If some of the, if I miss C, or if somebody, I don't know, if someone heckles or whatever, you got to have like 5 shows that you mix together.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, to really make a decent CD. This will be kind of a big event. It'll be the recording, and then I don't think I'll have a CD release. I'll just be selling it on the road after this. So yeah, this is like the big CD recording. I have a great audience coming. I can kind of attract my audience in Spokane. I mean, I can't really draw anywhere else, it's like, but I have good, it's not like I'm a celebrity, I can go to any town and get like my audience, but I have enough people that have seen me in Spokane that I'll be able to, I know I'm starting to sell tickets now, but there's still plenty left, fan show listeners.
Still plenty of tickets left for the Phil album recording. And yeah, I was curious because I know a lot of bands even now, they don't focus so much on like the album release, like the hard copy. It's like trying to get them on Spotify and SoundCloud and stuff. But
for sure, man. Yeah.
For you, you're doing Big Dipper. I'm a big fan of that venue. But why there? I see a lot of comedy specials and stuff happening at different venues around Spokane. I was curious if there was some sort of behind the scenes, maybe you knew the owner and they're going to cut you a good deal to do this, or how the Big Dipper came about to be the setting for your album recording.
In Spokane, there's a show called Drinking Debates that is pretty popular, and it kind of started in like a little coffee shop, and then it moved around. It's got its home at the Spokane Comedy Club now, and it'll be there for the rest of its life, but for a while, it was at the Big Dipper, and that's when I saw, I really liked the performance. I just liked the vibe. You can customize seating. You're in elevated, but there's also this, the seating is elevated. You can kind of do you can do table seating at the front, and then put your seat around that. And I like performing at music venues almost more than clubs a little bit, just because it creates this really great energy, and it's got a lower level and an upper level. And it creates a great energy. The Comedy Club of Spokane, I didn't even pitch them because they're an A-list club. So it's like, if I pursue this and I get the ads and I start to sell tickets, and 8 days before my show, Joe Rogan calls them up and says, "Hey, I can be in this." They're gonna bump Phillip Kopczynski for Joe Rogan, and that's the level. That's the level of they are. Stuff like that happens all the time.
Oh, I've heard stories. Yeah, a lot of people have gotten bumped because of higher profile, and luckily there's like an understanding in the comedy world, or at least I hope that's the right term for it, because I know with bands, when I was in one, that kind of stuff wouldn't have flown unless you were a fan of the band that you were getting booted for. So
well, the owners of the Spokane Comedy Club are really good. They'll give you like options. They'll say, okay, here, we'll give you this date, and then they have other clubs now, and so they're like, and we'll also, even as an apology, we'll give you a date over here too. And sometimes they'll even, if it's sometimes they'll, if it's too close, they might even reimburse you for flights. They work out each deal individually, but they take care of the talent like no other club or even bookers I've ever seen. They're so really great. But I would almost rather do my own recording and then work that club and sell my CD and stuff to the people that come to their club. That's when you perform it there over the course of a weekend, you might perform for 1,500 to 2,000 people if they're all sold out shows. So it's a kind of a hard hitch to be like, hey, I'm just an indie artist. You know what I mean? Because 90% of all their people have they're dealing with management, agents, the whole thing,
Yeah, no, I get it, and it's business, right? At the end of the day, and so you're just trying to make it in business. And this Saturday, the Big Dipper, your big night, album recording, tickets still available. What time should people be to the Big Dipper in downtown Spokane?
Well, if you want to hang out, have some fun, the doors open at 6:30. We will be starting the show at 7:30. Opening act is Harry J. Riley. He's a very, very funny comedian in Spokane. And then it'll be probably a 2-man show. We might have one 10-minute spot. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. I joked with him last night, and he is very, very funny. If you know who he is and you live in Spokane, then
you're missing
paying
out.
attention to comedy. You know who he is, right?
Yeah,
he's the best. No, at first I was like, man, I know a lot of opening acts in Seattle. Thought about asking someone to come over, and I thought, I want to make this a challenge for myself. I want to have to follow Harry. I want to have to get in the right mindset. So, I've been doing this set. The set I've been working on, I've definitely been pinning down for about 4 months, and then I'll be headlining Richland Jokers Thursday, Friday, tomorrow and Friday. And so, I mean, I'll have these 2 headline sets to really pin it down. And also, this is important. If anybody is listening to this and going, well, I don't know, he's just some independent artist. I think it's worth noting, last Saturday, I won a satellite for the World Series of Comedy in Florida, Indiana, all over the country. So if you need credits, that is one. And I also did it under pressure because my motel caught on fire right before this happened, man. So bad. I ran into a smoking motel room to grab my laptop and stuff.
Save the laptop. Dude. Everything else can go.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I had my suitcase and my laptop next to me, and I'm looking in like, oh, did I get everything? I look in. The smoke is pouring out, and I'm just like, oh, my toiletries. And I get from I just had that contact solution, dude.
That stuff ain't cheap, man. It ain't cheap.
Well, it was such a sketchy motel that smoke is pouring out of the door,
and nobody's panicked.
But people are just walking by like, oh yeah, the fire room. Yeah, I don't want that one. It was nuts, man. Like I had to go. So I took all my stuff and I go down to the front desk, and they're behind bulletproof glass, which is what should have could be in the first place. I'm like knocking on the bulletproof glass, like, hey man, my room is on fire.
Yeah, the bulletproof glass is probably an early indicator.
I should have left.
Do I want to stay here? I don't know. It sounds like they need these here.
Well, as soon as I got in my room, there were all these I mean, there were I don't know how many cigarette burns were on the comforter sheets, and they were like, well, I thought maybe, to be fair, they were probably warm spoon burns.
I don't think that makes it any better.
Oh man, it was Super 8s are gonna seem so luxurious to me now. Oh. Yeah. So this motel fire happened. I didn't even have time to shower. I had to wash the ash off my face and underneath my fingernails, and then I just went to the club smelling like a burn barrel. And yeah, I got in the finals, and I won finals, and then at the end of the whole event, I went to the guy who organizes the festival, and I'm like, hey man, this is a crazy day. My motel room was on fire just hours ago. He's like, what? And he had me tell him the whole story, and there was one of the comics in the finals was sitting with us, and he's like, yo, what would you have done with this festival if Phil had died in a motel fire? And the festival organizer goes, well, in the semifinals, I guess everyone would have got 2 more minutes.
So the award-winning comedian from Spokane is on the award-winning fan show this evening, and he's got a show this Saturday at the Big Dipper. I believe my evening is free, so hopefully we'll see more of you out there. I should be there, and it should be a lot of fun. But Phillip,
this is my last show in Spokane until September, Stan. So come get it.
You come and get it. Hopefully nobody got too offended or too uncomfortable during this segment. But hey, you can always turn it off. So I will see you this weekend. Thank you for being on the show and for letting us into your world a little bit. But have a good time this Saturday, regardless. And I hope it's a killer album recording.
Cool. Thank you, man. Thanks so much.
Hey, not a problem, man. Phillip Kopczynski.
Kopczynski, you got it.
Kopczynski on the Fan Show. Take care, man.
Thanks, bro.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move right along into the next segment. But before we do, I need to ask you one question. You know what question that is. Are you ready? Dun, dun. No, I'm just kidding. Are you interested in co-working? Oh, that's the real question, because Praxis is Spokane's newest co-working space. In this space, they value diversity, inclusion, and a sense of community. At Praxis, they celebrate entrepreneurs. Maybe even Phil is going to get himself into the comedy business. He's an award winner already. This is the award-winning fan show. He sounds like a perfect fit for Praxis. But they collaborate together and they help each other out to create the best work environment of our lives. Praxis, located on the 4th floor of the Holly Mason Building, 157 South Howard Street, Spokane, Washington, 99201. The lease is for a space that is 3,500 square feet, and it is equipped with small kitchenette, conference room, small office, and large open area. There are excellent parking options, a coffee shop downstairs, Rocket Bakery, and the space is only a 9-minute walk from beautiful Riverfront Park Square. Starting at $275 a month, they are offering month-to-month memberships or discounted memberships for longer-term commitments. A membership to Praxis includes a personal desk, all access to the building and recreational amenities, a key, Wi-Fi, use of the private rooms. As they are available, there are no hidden fees, no conference room fees, and no limited amount of minutes that you can spend in certain areas. $275 gets you everything that Praxis has to offer. Contact Robbie with an I, R-O-B-B-I, fantastic individual, Robbie at praxiscoworking.com or 509-220-0817. Visit praxiscoworking.com today and be yourself at work tomorrow. And with that, brings us in to the final segment of the evening, Battlebots Talk with none other than John Remar, as I mentioned, previously recorded segment. And, you know, we mix it up here on the Fan Show, and it feels like something that doesn't need to be said, but at the same time, that's probably why it should be said. Like, I really do mean it when I say that. I hope no one was offended or took anything out of context or too seriously during that last segment. I mean, it's always a wild card when you have a comedian on the show, and I thought we kept it pretty clean and a lot of fun, and that's the whole point of the Fan Show. So I am sorry if anyone gets offended by anything on the show. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to make sure that everyone is not offended, because there's something to offend someone out there for everyone. Something offensive for everyone in the world. But this is the Fan Show. It's a mix, it's a variety, and above all, it's fun. So here is Mr. John Remar, the head referee of Battlebots. All right, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our Battlebots week here on the Fan Show is the man who sort of got the Fan Show into it. Well, deserves a lot of credit. It is head referee John Remar. How you doing, John?
Great. Thank you very much for having me on the show. And, you know, all the credit goes to you. You're the one that, put yourself out there and really made it happen. Got excited about it, and we just opened the door and let you in.
Kinder words couldn't have been said on like that. But, it's really interesting because, I met so many people, so many great people down there during the tapings, and they were wondering how I got involved, and I said, well, it's the craziest thing. I was doing one of the regular podcasts before it was live back then, and me and a buddy, we were talking, and we were like, Battlebots is back, and we didn't even know about it. We had seen a promo on ABC, and we were like recalling all the times that we had seen it on Comedy Central, how big fans we were, and I posted it and tagged Battlebots, and then you reached out, and we decided to do some weekly segments. Got to know Farouk, got to know a lot of the builders, Zoe from Chomp, Will from Hypershock, Ray from Tombstone, and then season 3 tapings. I go down there, and man, was that an experience. Saw you hard at work, and what does it mean to you to be a referee for Battlebots?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess it's an honor to be a referee, mainly for probably 2 reasons. Number one is it's nice to know that you're trusted to do a job that is very important. There's safety that goes on that we do, and really determining the outcome of a fight is at times in the hands of a referee. And then secondly, I get the best seat in the house, so that's a great honor to be sitting there right in the middle of the action. I love it. I love what I do. I love working with the people that I get to work with.
When did Battlebots, and I'm sure that this was something that probably Greg or Trey came up with, but when was it decided that this kind of event needed a referee?
Well, going back to the very first Battlebots, which was not on a TV network, it was actually a broadcast on the internet. I believe it was ZDNet.tv, if I recall correctly. And we were doing our first tournament, and Trey Broski, the CEO of Battlebots, said, we need a referee. And so Todd Owens, who is the original first referee, was the one that stepped forward and said, I can do that. And Trey and Todd, they worked together, and they were the ones that really created the foundation for what we have today and all the rules that we have today.
Yeah, because like with any sport, with anything, really, you have to have a foundation, you have to have a set of rules, and of course things are going to go through some growing pains, some adjustments, and it's going to evolve as a whole. So to have this, competition style, of course, makes a lot of sense. It's one-on-one robot combat, but then you add in the first human element, which really is the referee, because the other are the drivers. And so that kind of adds, with that has to come, obviously, a rule set that the referee is going to enforce. How long do you think, if you had to ballpark it, did it take the powers that be to come up with the rule set that we see now in Battlebots?
Well, the rules, we look at the rules after every tournament. And so they keep evolving as time keeps passing. So I can't really give you a time frame. I can just tell you from the beginning of time up until this point, the rules continue to evolve to make the competition better, to make it more exciting, and to make it fair.
Yeah, and I think that it's been very well done, especially production-wise. I think you guys have got a great thing going there. You guys are on the Discovery Channel this time around, which, it's funny. We just talked about rules and their evolution and how things are constantly changing. It seems like BattleBots finding a home has been constantly changing. I mean, Comedy Central was great because at the time it was one of the top networks in the country, but BattleBots just wasn't a good fit for it because it wasn't a gimmick, and that's how they treated it. And then ABC, it was more kind of reality TV. ABC, obviously, one of the top 3 in the country that you want to be on, but still, maybe not the best fit. Now you found yourself with the Discovery and the Science Channel. Couldn't be a better fit. People are probably wondering how it took so long to end up on the ideal stage for you guys. But what were your thoughts when you heard that BattleBots would be on Discovery, and then throughout the filming and the tapings, how did everything, was there anything that stood out to you that was different that you could just sort of sit back and tell, this is going to work?
Well, it really felt for the first time like we were putting a square peg into a square hole. Everything just made sense. It made sense for us to be on Discovery. And let's also not forget that this is in partnership with the Science Channel. And so the two of them together just made a lot of sense for so many reasons. A lot of people that watch those type of shows are the same type of people that are going to be involved in a show like BattleBots. Also, I'm not sure if you knew this, because this is relatively new news. The Science Channel will rebroadcast and have their own premiere on Thursdays at 9 p.m. So that'll be the following Thursday after the Discovery Channel airing. And they're going to actually show some bonus footage that won't be on the Discovery Channel. So it'll be fun to watch them both, to watch the Discovery at 8 p.m. on Fridays, and then again on Science Channel Thursdays at 9 p.m., and then seeing the bonus footage that they have.
Well, what I wanted to find out a little bit about as far as the transition, because, talk about Discovery, the Science Network, it's going to be great that it rebroadcasts on Science Channel, which is on the BattleBots website, so people hopefully can be in the know for that just because you miss it one time doesn't mean that you've missed it for good. Of course, set your DVRs and there's probably on demand, but the Science Channel's got you covered the following week. With this new season, with this new partnership, there came a lot of sort of revamping about the process and the way that things were done. Greg was very excited about how you guys did like twice as many fights, twice as many episodes and tapings, because you wanted to have like an actual season that led into the tournament instead of the season being the tournament. Was that something that you guys negotiated with Discovery, or was that more of like, here's what we want to do different, what do you think? And it was kind of a take it or leave it thing?
I think that's a better question to ask Greg, because that was a meeting that I was not involved in. So can't answer specifically the negotiation on that particular question.
But overall, the vibe that you got from the builders, the cast and crew, did they feel like this was sort of more of what was envisioned as far as having the season and then having the tournament?
Absolutely. I think we knew we needed to change things up. One of the things that you're going to see in this new season is the fight card format. And I'm sure some of the other folks that you've had on have talked about the fight card format. But what that's going to do is it's going to give the robot teams an opportunity to have between 3 and 5 fights during the first, I believe, 16 episodes. And during those 16 episodes, they'll be ranked. And so for the last 4 episodes, you're going to see a tournament with the rankings of the top 16.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that'll be something special, and I'm looking so forward to this season. One of the things that I said on last night's episode to help kick off Battlebots Week is that, if you find yourself, if you're father, mother, uncle, whatever it is, and you have smaller children that are looking for something to kind of latch onto and really get involved in, something to kind of pick one out of the bunch to be their own, and you're worried about maybe they're too young for UFC and maybe you aren't the kind to get into like professional wrestling, sit them down on the couch, have them watch BattleBots, because I've had so many people tell me that it's such a great thing for families to enjoy. I mean, there's even a family that has, that's a team that has a robot in this whole thing. So it's a family affair, and it's something that I think that kids are going to love and get hooked on.
I think you're absolutely right. And I challenge people to take it one step further. Bring some paper, maybe some pens or markers or crayons, depending on, what you have in the house, and tell me at the end of watching your first episode of BattleBots that you're not inspired to want to draw out what your robot would look like, because I see it happen all the time. I remember my first BattleBots, and we were on a lunch break, and there was a cocktail napkin sitting there, and I took out a pen, and I wish I kept it, but I drew out my first BattleBot, and it just inspires you, and it gets you to if you're a child, to get off the couch and want to go create something. If you're an engineer, to rethink the way something works. And so I love that aspect of it.
I'm not sure if I told you this story or not, but it is a 110% true story. As I mentioned, I was a huge fan of BattleBot since its Comedy Central days, and I remember I would try to make sure that I had my calendar marked because this was before a time of smartphones and social media, so that I could make sure to tune in for BattleBots on Comedy Central. But I was at Shopko one day, and they had, in the electronics section, they had this big bin of computer games, and in there was a BattleBots game. I don't think it was an officially licensed one, but you talk about the inspiration after seeing one of these episodes, these fights and everything, and wanting to design your own. I bought it that day, went home, and spent hours making like probably 5 different bots, and I had the time of my life. So yes, it is one of those things that, I'm not going to say any average Joe could do this, because these are very smart, very gifted and talented people that construct these things and make the magic happen in the battle box. But there's no reason why you can't create your own bot and pick one that you want to go all the way through the tournament and really get behind them. So yeah, I think everything, the potential is there.
Absolutely. And if you're young and you're inspired, there are all kinds of programs. They have them in school. There are all kinds of robotics clubs. You can find ways to educate yourself. Just make sure you do it safely, and you do it with the supervision of somebody that really knows what they're doing, or a parent. But I love that BattleBots inspire so many people, and it crosses all boundaries. So you don't have to, be a high-level athlete. You don't have to, whether you're a man or a woman, a boy or a girl, anybody can do it. Ray, who won Season 2 of ABC on BattleBots, he was a prison guard. He also was a very good welder, which helped out a lot.
Yes.
But he was a prison guard, and so he didn't have high level engineering to be able to draw out mathematically everything that goes into a robot. He did it based on what he felt was the right way to do it.
Yeah, and even Leanne, who I had the pleasure of interviewing while I was down there, and the folks will get to see that when that time comes during this season. But she was punk rocker turned bot fighter. She was working merch tables for punk rock bands on tours, and she's involved in season 3. So yeah, any background, there's no rules or restrictions to this, but I'd like to see BattleBots have the kind of impact on pop culture where it starts to get implicated into like an elective class that you can take in high school or college, where you can build a bot, and there's like a traveling circuit like we see with professional wrestling and UFC, but for the guys that are more behind the scenes, the engineers, the number crunchers, like let this be their thing and let them run with it. So that's what I'm hoping for. Tomorrow night I have Farouk on the show. It'll be the last episode before the BattleBots premiere Friday at 8 o'clock on the Discovery Channel. And who better to get us pumped and headed into the premiere than the man on the mic? And how much of a blessing has it been to have a guy like Farouk out there in the center of it all to really bring this thing all together?
He is an incredible individual. Yes, he's got this great big booming voice that is iconic. There's no doubt about that, and we love that. And you never get tired of hearing it's robot fighting time. Obviously, I can't do it like you can. But I'll tell you a little story about Farouk that not many people may know. He really likes to inspire people and show his love. And one of the things that he did on the first day of shooting was he took Post-it notes and went around to everybody and wrote a nice little message to them and stuck it to their chair or their workspace. And so all around our environment were all these positive messages. Where he came up with this idea, I'm sure it just came from his heart, because that's the kind of guy he is. But, I have my message, and I'll post it to my Facebook page, and you can share it with your listeners if you want. But it was just nice to have somebody like that really just inspiring us from such a great leadership position. So you can talk to him more about that tomorrow night.
Oh, I most certainly will. And, I think excited has been used so many times, but really what better word to see this thing after a year hiatus come back better than ever. BattleBots on Discovery, and then again on the Science Channel. The season premiere, season 3, is Friday night at 8 o'clock. Check your local listings or however you do it in the 2018 age of technology. But we get our first dream match in this new fight card style, Minotaur versus the reigning defending champion, Tombstone. And I will have weekly segments on here with the different members of different teams. We're gonna get to know guys like Double Jeopardy and Battle Royale with Cheese, and then I've got exclusive interviews from down in the pit area when I was down there from, of course, Ray with Tombstone. We've got the guys from Bombshell and Witch Doctor. Just so many great things coming this season for the Fan Show and BattleBots. But John, once again, I cannot thank you enough for opening that door. Someone had to, and I cannot wait to see what Season 3 brings us.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me on.
It's been a pleasure. You take care, and I will talk to you after the premiere.
Sounds great. Alrighty.
And once again, that was John Remar, head BattleBots referee. Friday night is the night. Mark your calendars. Discovery Channel. It is about to go down. Robot fighting time. Tomorrow we got Farouk and Folger. That's right. The best part of waking up is going to be the best part of the show. He will be a featured guest tomorrow. He is Spokane's Comedian of the Month. And he said, the irony is that I don't have a lot of shows this month. So I said, come on the Fan Show. And he's like, yeah, why not? So we're going to have him on the show. And Farouk is going to take us into Friday, because tomorrow's Thursday, the premiere is Friday, and into the weekend. What better way? You won't want to miss it. Don't forget, replays of the show immediately following their broadcast the next day at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on WBLZ Sports. I guess that's not technically immediately, but you can listen to the podcast form immediately following each broadcast. That you can do. And that is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. Social media, of course, you can find us at FanShowOfficial, Facebook.com/FanShowOfficial, Instagram and Snapchat both are The Fan Show. And, of course, your home base for all things football and nonsense, thefanshow.com. You can listen live or on Spreaker.com/user/The Fan Show. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to my guests tonight. Both of them, fantastic. Hope you laughed. Hope you got your funny bone tickled a little bit. We'll be back at it tomorrow night. Same Fan Show time, same Fan Show place. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and remember, of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night!
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.